Welcome back. You're watching Newslink on DSTV channel 403. Now, calls for a probe into Glencore's activities in South Africa are intensifying. It follows the company agreeing to plead guilty to an intricate web of bribery and price manipulation. The web spread from Venezuela to Nigeria to Los Angeles, the UK as well as Brazil. But South Africa was not mentioned at all. The Benchmarks Foundation says this simply cannot be true. Let's speak to David van Wyk from the foundation. David, good morning and thank you very much for your time. I suppose that really is the big question in everyone's mind. Would their corrupt conduct, which covered a number of countries, as I've just stated, not have extended to South Africa? How likely is this?
Well, I think it's very unlikely. In 2014, for example, Glencore bought all South Africa's oil reserves well below market price. The High Court found that that deal was illegal and that it had to be reversed, and there was an out-of-court settlement that reversed that particular deal. Now, that is one instance that we are concerned about. Another instance we are concerned about was the merger between Xstrata and Glencore, which COSATU, NUM, and ourselves opposed at the time when that particular deal went through. We are also concerned about Glencore's activities in other African countries. For example, in Zambia, Glencore sold its Mopani mine for $1 American to the Zambian government, and with it the Zambian government bought a debt of $1.5 billion US. So we are concerned that this company has a reputation for bad behavior, and although the current CEO says that they've moved beyond that, just on the 20th of April 2022 we read that 200 ships received contaminated oil from Glencore. So this is a company that has at its core a very rotten culture when it comes to trade, and we are concerned that it seems as if we did not really enter into any investigation into this country as to whether this company has not behaved similarly to the way it's behaved in the DRC, where we participated in 2 special assignment documentaries in 2014 looking at Kolwezi and Katanga. And also we looked at the time at the fact that the cobalt and copper that was exported from the Kolwezi mine in Katanga from Glencore's operations was contaminated with uranium and so on. So it is very strange for us that that somehow South Africa escaped this net.
No, there clearly is, as you're speaking, there clearly is a concerning corporate behavior here. There is some sort of a pattern. But then what has been your reaction to how the world has responded to this, particularly the United States? Because here, what we're hearing across the board, even with Norway and their bodies, it's all just an expression of condemnation or concern, and there's just penalties.
Well, the thing that really worries us is that, corporations can commit crimes and then they can have out-of-court settlements. They can have what they call coordinated resolutions, and they blame individuals within the organization, and then the corporation walks away from the crime itself, only to commit crimes as soon as those admissions have been made. Like I say, on the 20th of April, after these admissions and so on, we read that 200 ships received contaminated oil from Glencore, in the major global media, business media. So, why is it that corporations who are persons in law are not held accountable the same way as an ordinary criminal is, and why is it that individuals get targeted within the organization when it seems to have been the culture of the organization to behave in that particular manner?
No, it's honestly very disturbing because, when one looks at what happened within Glencore, you had Glencore bribing to secure oil contracts. After that, they would bribe government officials for audits. If something slipped through the cracks insofar as bribing the auditors, then they would bribe the judges. So they really stopped at nothing.
Well, yes, they even budgeted, preempting the fact that they might get caught out to be able to pay off, the settlements that they make outside of the court system. The Mopani mine in Zambia was sold soon after Lee Day, which is a legal firm in London, threatened to take Glencore to court for environmental digressions and indiscretions in Zambia. they just sold off that mine to the Zambian government rather than face the courts in that particular country. In the DRC, for example, First Quantum woke up one morning to find its mine gates locked and it kicked out of the country, and within a week that same mine was given over to Glencore by the Congolese authorities, where Glencore had a very corrupt relationship, it would seem, with a man called Dan Getler, who is the gatekeeper to mining in the Congo. So we also have all these questions around optimum, which Brian Molefe has raised in this country, around the relationship between Glencore and Eskom, which is also very concerning, given the fact that we are suffering all these blackouts and so on that we are suffering at the moment. And at that time, it was alleged that Glencore was selling substandard coal to Eskom so that it could actually export prime coal. So all of these things are very concerning. The amount of power that this corporation seems to have over governments and over legal systems is immense, and it really is something that needs to be curbed.
So where to from here? Because the reality is, on paper, it looks like there's nothing that links what has happened all over the world, including the continent, somehow spills over to South Africa. There's nothing that they found on them in South Africa. So would a call for a broader investigation be legitimate?
Well, I think that we need to have a broader investigation, and we need to start right at the outset. Corporations were never brought before the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, although they benefited handsomely from apartheid. Now, post-apartheid, we see these corporations basically having polluted the BEE broad-based Black economic empowerment policies in this country by not empowering ordinary citizens, broad-based, but empowering always the political elite in the country. And in that way, buying for themselves favors from the state in terms of environmental transgressions, in terms of labor, in terms of health and safety, and so on. And we have a mining industry which is hugely problematic as far as our environment is concerned, as far as wages are concerned, and as far as tax evasion in this country and avoidance is concerned. We have transfer pricing and so on amounting to absolutely trillions of rands if we read the reports from the Mbeki Foundation as well as the reports from the United Nations Development Agency. People use transfer pricing to ship minerals out of our country into countries like Switzerland and so on, into tax havens in Zug and in the Cayman Islands and so on. And they are not properly taxed, and we are not getting the proper value of the minerals that we are producing in this country. We are sitting with an economic recession at the moment when mining companies are absolutely claiming it and bragging about the fact that they are paying huge dividends and even rewarding their CEOs with massive amounts of money. The same Glencore has paid out massive dividends in the last year.
And even bragging when it comes to those mining houses, even bragging that they can sustain a strike for even a year. It's honestly very difficult times. David, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. That's David van Wyk from the Benchmark Foundation.